Well, welcome to the Keeping the Nostalgia Alive show. I'm your host. I know you guys are probably trying to figure out who the guy I'm with is today. Where did he play basketball at? Where did he play high school basketball and college basketball? No, we're going to talk hockey today. And we are with the legendary Jack Stanfield. Jack, thank you for sharing some time with us and talking about hockey. Of course, I gave you my rundown on the Indianapolis Racers and my 6 degrees of hockey with Wayne Gretzky getting his high school diploma from my high school. That's about all I know about hockey besides going to some racers, checkers, and some Indianapolis ice games. So, Jack Stanfield, thank you
Let-
so much for joining us.
Well, my pleasure, Billy. And what I remember about the Indianapolis, that arena was one of the best hockey arenas I think I ever played in.
The State
I mean,
Fairgrounds.
it was a really structurally, it was a design that really fit hockey. And so I don't know about you watching games in that building must have been pretty good. I don't know whether you watched any hockey games there, but certainly it was a great building to play in. I mean, the fans were close to the action. It's just one of those. I mean, when you go around the U.S., there are some buildings that are quite good for hockey. Hockey buildings have to be built kind of straight up in a way, so you're looking down on the game. I mean,
You
I
know,
guess
I,
for, I guess for basketball, but basketball buildings seem to be a little more slanted. I don't know.
Well, well, the ABA played there with the Indiana Pacers too. But yeah, no, I saw several games there, and it was a great environment for hockey. How did it compare to the Sam Houston Coliseum?
Um, it was a little obviously a little more modern than the old Sam Houston, but Sam Houston Coliseum was a great hockey building too because the fans were so close. I mean, I think that really does make a difference. Some buildings are laid out in a way that you get further, from the ice, but in the old Coliseum, and I have a video of when we won the championship. The fans were so on top of the game, and it makes it exciting. You
There
know,
is some really great stuff on YouTube to watch about the Sam Houston Coliseum and the Houston Aeros. Before we get into that or any deeper, what is like the hockey world like today because of both the women and the men winning the gold medal? I mean, is this are you kind of enjoying this? Is the game of hockey kind of enjoying this right now?
I think. Remember, I grew up in Canada, so so that last game was a little tough. But I'm a U.S. citizen and a Canadian citizen, so I have the luxury of being happy whether one team wins or the other. But I think the growth of hockey and all the cities that have hockey now, pretty much all over. Like when I started my career, it was 62, a long time ago, but it was in Philly before Philly had a NHL team. Then I went to St. Louis before St. Louis had an NHL team. Then I went to Buffalo before Buffalo had an NHL team. Then I went to Los Angeles and played in LA before they had an NHL team. Then I went to Dallas. So weird. I'm playing in all of these cities that now didn't have. I played in the minor league teams in all of those cities. But they had good buildings in pretty much every market I played in.
Tell us a little bit about where you're from, where you were born and raised. Tell us about that town in Ontario.
I grew up in the west end of Toronto. My father was head of the police department, and so I got a lot of people eyes on me as I grew up, and so I had to kind of toe the line. But I'm the oldest of seven brothers. 5 of which played pro hockey. Among my brothers, won Stanley Cups, won the American Hockey League, won the Central Hockey League, won the Western Hockey League, won pretty much won the NCAA. My brother Vic, he was the 5th in line in the brother lineup, went to Boston University. And you'll get a kick out of this. My brother Fred played for the Bruins, so they were in Boston at the same time. Freddie was playing for the Bruins. Vic was at BU. Ruzioni, the famous hockey player, Olympic hockey player, was at BU, and so they were teammates. Vic came in as a freshman, and not too often the freshmen get to play with the veteran, but Jack Kelly, who was a coach there, who's quite famous, Jack brought Vic in and put him on the main team, and they won the first year. They won the NCAA, and so that was quite a start. Then the biggest tournament in Boston is the Beanpot. It's a rival between Boston University, Boston College, and all the schools in that area. And Vic won Most Valuable Player in the Beanpot 3 times. So he was a really top player for Boston University. When they opened the Fleet Center, this is a family quib. When they opened the Fleet Center, Vic got inaugurated initially. They had a handful of athletes initially in the initial launch of the Fleet Center Hall. And Vic got in, but my brother Fred, who won 2 Stanley Cups there, didn't get in. He did later next year, but that was a phone call with the brothers. Hey, Fred, what about, how come, didn't you win 2 Stanley Cups in Boston? But yeah, my brother Jimmy won the American League and the Central League and the Western League, and I won the World Hockey. So, we have a collection of championships that the family can represent.
At what point in time in your childhood did you decide, or did you think, hockey is going to be my career in life?
I loved hockey. I mean, it's like you talk about basketball. It's grassroots. You play when you're a kid. You play everywhere. You play out on the street. You play in the yard. You play in the, I think that was true for me as a kid. You get on the local ponds, and there's lots of training and lots of opportunity. And as I went up step by step, I got more successful. I won scoring championships in the teams that I played on, and did well enough. But my brother Fred was an amazing hockey player. He was 2 years younger than me. And we in those days, there were only 6 NHL teams. So you were, even from like 12 years old, you were in a farm team we were in the Blackhawks, Chicago Blackhawks system. And my brother Fred, I can remember he was like, I think 12 years old, in a Pee-wee tournament, got 13 goals. I mean, he crazy. He was the kind of guy could take the puck like Gretzky, go behind the net, circle the net, just wind his way down the ice, just past everybody, and then go past the goalie and put it in. He just had that skill. And I think Chicago really had their eye on my younger brother. But when he was 16 and I was 18, they invited us to the highest level junior team together. I was captain of the junior B team in Dixie, where we were playing junior, and had almost won the scoring championship for the junior league. So I was doing well. And so they invited me. I got to play. I could tell they were really interested in my brother, Fred. And Fred went from junior right directly to Chicago. So, I mean, he had a great pro career. But in junior, I was a centerman, and then later on I became a left winger. But in junior, they put Freddie at center. They put Dennis Hull, Bobby Hull's younger brother, on left wing and me on right wing. And that was our junior line. And then the next year, I went up to Chicago to the training camp for the big club a year before my brother. My brother stayed there 3 years and did very well, and then stepped right from junior. It's very rare in those days when there were only 6 NHL teams for a player to step from the junior rankings into the National Hockey League. That you had to be at a different level. I had to kind of work my way up.
What was it playing? Was the goal to get to the NHL when you were playing hockey?
Sure. And though, if you think about baseball, all the AAA and all the layers, that's the way the NHL was at that time. You had the Central Hockey League was kind of there was the Eastern Hockey League, and then there was the Central Hockey League, then there was the American Hockey League, then there was the Western Hockey League. So there were tiers of stepping stones like AAA and AA, the current baseball stepping stones remind me of how hockey was in those days.
When do you get back to Houston, and you just don't think of hockey when you think of Houston?
I think we're. I don't think people really understand how much hockey has been a part of the city. Here's a tidbit that people don't know. Let's see, the one of the coaches that won 8 Stanley Cups for Montreal Canadiens won his first championship as a coach, his first year coaching in 1947-48 in Houston.
Wow.
And then went on to coach, but so that was one of the first championships. It was the Eastern Hockey League, minor pro, and they won. I think it was Skeeters or Skippers, or I'm not sure the name of the team, but it was it was a minor league team here for Montreal, and they won a championship, and then we won 2 championships in the World Hockey, the rival against the NHL. And then the American Hockey League was won by the Aeros later on, and then the International Hockey League. So there's been 5 major league championships, hockey championships, that have been won in Houston. And so the legacy of the game, think about it. Is there any other place that one of the greatest hockey players of all time ever got to play with his sons? I mean, they were Mark and Marty Howe and Gordie Howe were, I mean, that's something that just doesn't happen. Gordie had played 25 years in the National Hockey League. 25. Set all the records. I mean, was well known as probably before Gretzky got there. Was the greatest hockey player, legendary player. 25 years. Started and
he was actually Tom Brady before Tom Brady. What?
Yeah. And Gordie, he brought his kids up. He trained them when they were young. Watched them, knew they had skill. And then our fortune was that the guy that was running the franchise here Billy Dineen. He was a GM.
He was also a player, right?
Yeah, he played in Detroit. He played with Gordy. So he was a old teammate. He knew Gordy. He knew Colleen. He knew the house. He knew how much it meant to Gordy to maybe even have a chance to play with his kids. And so that connection is what helped this happen. And Bill worked it out with Colleen. And the other thing was there was a guy, Jim Smith, a young attorney that was the original Aeros franchise was really given to wasn't given to Houston. It was let's see, Paul Deneau, and I'm trying to think of the name of the other city, but anyway, it was another city, and Paul Deneau got the franchise rights, but the city they were in didn't have a building. So he started looking around. Where could he start this franchise? And he hired a young attorney, guy by the name of Jim Smith, brilliant young guy. And Jim came here and started looking around, and that's how the Aeros ended up here. And Jim was the president of the club for the first 3 or 4 years. And then later on, he's the guy. He went to California. This just to show his skill. He went to California and ran the Los Alamitos racetrack. He got the job to run the racetrack there. He's the guy that got off-track wagering approved by the California legislature. He was, he was skilled enough that he's the one that got the people here behind the Aeros franchise. He's the one that kind of helped create the idea of building the Summit, or a new building here in Houston. And so that was fun. That's another thing that people don't realize. When they built the Summit, they built it here because the Rockets had moved here, the very beginning of the Rockets franchise here, and the Aeros we were doing well downtown. And so they knew they needed a new facility. We built the Summit. I remember going over there with things to take to the workers, little Aeros tags and hats and things like that while they were building the Summit. But when we moved in there, and that would be, let's see, we were 72, 73, 74, 74, 70, 75, 1975. When we moved in there, that first year in the Summit, this will put hockey in proper perspective. That first year in the Summit, our average attendance was 9,700 a game. Rockets' average attendance was 6,300 a game.
Wow.
So that is a pretty strong statement. You got a hockey team that, draw on that many more people. We would put 15, 16,000 in that building different nights, and so hockey has been, it's left its mark here. Why we don't have an NHL franchise right now is because the guy that built, and I don't know whether you know the name Kenneth Snitzer.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, right. He was a real estate developer that built the Greenway complex, all the Greenway development. Kenneth was the owner at the end of the Aeros World Hockey franchise. And Kenneth had a series of conversations with a guy in Denver, Jack Vickers, about bringing an NHL, the Denver NHL team, to Houston. And Kenneth said that I by this time I had gone from being a player to being in the front office. And so I was actually vice president of the club at the end. And so Kenneth said to me, Jack, I want to bring this Denver team, and I have an understanding with the guy in Denver that if we can raise enough season ticket commitments that I can make a deal and bring that team here. So I did a campaign. He said, if you raise 5,000 season tickets, I'll do the deal. I did that. We got a commitment to 5,000 season tickets. The night before we were going to make that announcement, we had to verify two things. We had to verify with the World Hockey that we were leaving the World Hockey. We had to also confirm that we had to show Snitzer we had 5,000 commitment season tickets, and he was going to do this deal. When we're talking to the World Hockey guys and saying we're leaving and make the commitment to leave, which we thought was proper, they're hanging up, and they said, hold on. They thought we'd gone, but they said, Vickers is not going to make that deal. So we got on the phone. This is late at night, and got Snitzer, and he finally got the guy in Denver, and he said, yeah, I've changed my mind. So now, so now we'd walked away from the league. We're ready to announce we're bringing NHL, and the deal falls through. You know where that team ended up?
Nashville?
No. New Jersey. It's the Devils. John McMullen's team. The McMullen that owned the Astros.
Wow.
Got our Houston franchise. You know, that's ironic to me. I mean, but if we'd stayed in the World Hockey one more year, we'd have an NHL team now. But because the teams that merged with the NHL, when the WHA merged with the NHL, those guys got franchises. I mean, at least some of them did. And certainly we were one of the best drawing franchises. We would have got a NHL. But that little nuance, one of the reasons we don't have a team right now.
And now, is that dead, by the way? Do you think Houston will ever get an NHL team?
No, I think there's no question. Later on in my career, I started regional channels. I mean, I got in the regional channel sports business. So I started maybe 27 regional networks all over the U.S. and then networks in Asia and Australia and around the world. But one of the things that I did do was deal directly with the NHL. So I have a sense of the NHL. Gary knows Houston's a good city. But the biggest challenge right now is two, really. One, building. What building works. Three, price. It's the numbers are crazy, but it's a big city. It should have NHL. Dallas has got NHL. Why not?
But don't you think they could share the Toyota Center, or is that just not possible? Is there too much greed involved there, or too many scheduling conflicts? I mean, why not maximize that building?
Yeah, it's not when you look, it's not a real good hockey building. Really, and to be quite honest. One of the challenges was, I think the Rockets that manage the building get more money out of concerts and things like that than they would out of a minor league hockey team. And I know that the team that was there, was paying like $1 million a year or something for rent, and the Rockets put that up uh, to where it wasn't practical for a minor league team to pay the kind of money. So it's interesting. You would think that the Rockets would be aggressively wanting to bring an NHL team here. That would be good. But I think they look at the economics of it too. How long is it going to take to build that franchise? A lot of, and I almost think that an NHL franchise here with the economics around it almost have to have their own building. So you can get the revenues from naming and I remember when I was managing the marketing and sales for the Aeros and the old Summit and the Rockets are there, Ray Patterson and I were good buddies and we would meet all the time, but we divide up. He'd say, okay, you take Coke and I'll take the beer. I mean, and then we'd have a little soft drink. Ray was a good guy. I mean, he was a good friend. I miss him.
Why do you think the city of Houston has hockey knowledgeable fans? I mean, I watched probably 8 or 9 clips last night of the Aeros, and why did we get such smart fans? I mean, is it because we're a
Well,
melting pot?
I think the diverse. There are a number. I mean, it's a big enough city. It's got a number of people that have come from areas where they've had major league or quality hockey. So I think, but it's not that. To me, and remember, okay, I played in the Eastern Hockey League, I played in the American Hockey League, I played in the Central Hockey League, I played in the Western Hockey League. I played in every market in this. I played. I was in Seattle. I knew Seattle was a good hockey market. Portland's a good hockey market. All that Northeast, but well, I played in Dallas. I knew Dallas was a good market. I think one of the things about Houston is just the mindset is compatible with the game. The rodeo, the hard hitting, that kind of rock'em sock'em bullfights, or whatever, bull rides and bronco riding, and that's the kind of people that love to see a good hard hitting compact game, and hockey's that. It's an exciting game, and so I think it's quite compatible with the mindset of this city. I think it's just a natural, and I think the diversity of the population from all over this country, you've got plenty of fans.
So I know that everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, but from my perspective and thinking about you and playing with the Howes and especially Gordie Howe would be me like making it to the minor leagues and my favorite player Pete Rose was playing with me. I mean, what was it like to play with Gordie Howe? What was he? Did he make you a better player? Was he a good friend? What was Gordie Howe like?
He was Gordie was mean on the ice. He was a mean, tough, hard ass hockey player. I mean, he was tough. He was dirty too. He used and I think that came from he was so good all through his career, scored so many goals, did so much, won Stanley Cups, all that trained him to protect himself. He had to be tough. You're not going to be the number one guy in the National Hockey League for all the time that he was and not learn how to protect yourself. You're going to have to, you know? And so that little, and he had a little, like, here's a great story. My two kids, I had two boys, they were really young. And so they would come to the rink. I remember Shane, he was maybe 5 years old. I come to a practice or something. We're outside the dressing room to say hello to Mr. Howe, you know, and Gordy put his hands on Shane's head, just like this on his ears, picked him up on his head, picked him up with his head, just right face to face. How you doing, Shane? Tears coming down the kid's face, you know, because I mean, you think that wasn't uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but Gordy thought that was cute, you know. I mean, I remember when we practiced when he came out of retirement. I've told this story many times. We trained in Minnesota. The ice was just unbelievable up there. I mean, it was easy training camp. You know, nice clear air, beautiful, clean ice, crisp. So you know, you think, but you know, three weeks of training, you think you're in good shape. We come back to Houston, old Coliseum. Ice is like sand. I mean, it's just like you're skating in mud. I mean, it was really the contrast into the two mark, and it was September, so it was humid. You know, I mean, it was just oh. I mean, I think everybody on the team that was in training camp then just went, "Oh, are you kidding?" And Gordy, you could just see him. He was dragging. One day, and Gordy had this habit, he'd leave about 6 inches at the end of his stick. And he'd go by and he'd catch you on the elbow or on your stick or something, and he'd spin you. You know, he had this little trick of using the end of his stick like that. And he did that to me, but he didn't quite get me. And I turned around and cross-checked him. He went into the boards, out, totally out. I mean, he was gone. I mean, he was gone. They had to bring the Red Cross out. You know, the trainers come running out, and they took him to the hospital. You know, but he was okay after, and we laughed about it. But I got to sit between Mark and Marty in the dressing room across from their dad. What a treat! I mean, you know, I think I was always the player rep for some reason on the teams I was on, and I was the player rep, and I think Bill respected, and then that's part of the reason he stuck me in that situation. But it was fun to sit there and hear somebody say, "Hey, Dad, hey, Dad, what do you, hey, Dad, what do you, you know, crazy." But he was Gordy had a mean streak, but he had a little grin. He'd look at you, and he had this little grin, and he had a sort of a real sense of humor. You know, I mean, the perfect example is a game when we were broadcasting, because I ended up going into broadcasting with Trupiano was my play-by-play. I mean, if you hear those games, you'll hear my screechy voice. It wasn't that, it wasn't that good a broadcast voice, but anyway, it taught me a lot. And we're doing a game in Minnesota, and Shaky Walton, good player, is going down the ice and going in on the goal. They're going to score, and all of a sudden he's got a slash, blood running down his face. And John Shella, one of our defensemen, is getting kicked out of the game for cutting this guy, Shaky Walton. And Shella's saying, "I didn't do it. I didn't do it." We go back and look at the replay. Nobody saw it. Walton's going by Shella. Shella gets his stick in front of him, and then there's this big arm from with the front end of the blade of the stick going whack and just sliced Walton. It was Gordy. Gordy had sliced Walton and then just turned away. Nobody saw it. You unless we had that replay, we wouldn't have eaten. And Shella actually got kicked out of the game because of that. 5 minutes or whatever for drawing blood and stuff like that. But nobody. But he was like that. He was mean, and he was a dirty player. But I think he got that just to protect himself. Hey, don't screw with me. You're going to pay the price.
Do you think, and I think I agree with this, do you think hockey is the roughest professional sport to play?
I think rugby's pretty good. I mean,
sports I would go watch.
Jack. And I think, and I'll tell you this: I don't have my front teeth here. I mean, I have caps and stuff like that, but not playing hockey. I'll tell you the roughest game: box lacrosse. Box lacrosse is the hardest game I ever played. I mean, guys are using their stick; they're whacking at you. You can cross check. You can whack guys until you get blue in the face, and you can use the stick in a much more dangerous way. But box lacrosse is indoor, in an arena, in a smaller space, not field lacrosse where they play out and they got a lot more room. Field lacrosse isn't nearly as tough as box lacrosse. Have you ever watched indoor lacrosse?
I have. Very intense.
Yeah. So I think it's close to hockey as being.
So when you retired from hockey, how long did it take your body, or is your body still going through it, have to get used to not playing hockey? I mean, and could you still feel it years afterwards?
Yeah, I think the basic fundamental structure or muscle base and ligaments and all of that that you get from training and hockey conditioning and years of skating, it stays with you. I mean, it's not tuned, but the basics are there. So, I mean, I'm 84, but I'm still, I can still grip, I can shake somebody's hand and it's an attitude and part of the training procedure or the things that are the base training for hockey are develop your upper legs, your arm strength, and still work on a fair amount of flexibility, but it's quick movement, quick turns and things like that. So I mean, the challenging thing for me now is joint. It puts a lot of strain on joints. So your knees and your hips and your shoulders and stuff like that. And you get a lot of cuts, from sticks. I mean, if here, right here, that one was 37 stitches. A stick went straight in, So, yeah.
I mean, I look at Jack Hughes's teeth from the Olympics, and that just brings just question upon question, especially while sitting there with my wife. She was asking, is he going to get it fixed? I go, yeah, when he has a chance and time to get it fixed, but this is what he does.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Jack,
I lost my front teeth was a straight cross check with a lacrosse stick, straight across, just wipe just wiped my front teeth out, you know, just broke them right off, you know, and then they put caps in and things like that for a while, but then later on they had to, you know, put implants.
Was it hard giving up the game to quit playing? And what mindset did you have, and what routes or what made you go down the paths that you did, and kind of lead us into a little bit of the regional sports networks that you put together?
The thing what happened to me is because I was playing minor league most of my career, I had to have an off-season summer job. And so I was a Canadian golf pro. The golf season in Canada was exactly opposite the hockey season. So I'd come home in the summer to Toronto, and I worked at Toronto Golf. I worked at Pine Valley. I worked at Scarborough. I worked at Northwood Country Club. I worked at Oakdale. I was a head assistant at Northwood Country Club for 10 years, teaching pro. You know, I do front shop work and then teach. And then my last job was at Oakdale, which is where the Canadian Open was just a couple of years ago. It was kind of fun to watch because that was my last assistant job. But that was the summer that in 1974, when we won the World Hockey, I went home to Toronto. I worked at Oakdale. And I decided I was going to retire. And but I thought, well, I might go to Switzerland and play. So I made a deal to go. Now the team here, because I had a lot of working relationship with the management, they had said to me, you know, if you're going to retire and if you want to come and work for the team, we'd like to have you. So anyway, I made a contract to go to Basel to play in Switzerland. And, but that summer when I was at Oakdale, I got some kind of virus. I didn't know, but and I went from like 180 pounds to about 167. Wasn't feeling that good. Tried to get in shape. Went to Basel. Moved my family to Switzerland. I got to play about 5 games. Got training there in 5 games, and I was just hanging. And so I said, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I called Jim Smith, the guy I had said earlier, and said, Jim, is the offer to come and work for the team still? And he said, yeah, come on. And so we flew back from Basel to Houston. I walked in the dressing room, and Al Lum was the team doctor. And I said, Al, I don't know, I had something happen. He says, you got diabetes. Think about it. This is 1974. He looked at me and said, you got diabetes. My pancreas had, whatever the virus was, had destroyed my pancreas. Now that's 74. I'm been 50 years. I got to take insulin in my body every day, you know. But that got me into this is good too, because I got into just doing Bill's. I was Bill's assistant. I became the assistant GM, sort of like for the hockey side, and that put me in touch with. I like coordinated Bill's getting all the scouting reports and stuff like that. So that was good. That's another thing about this, the legacy of this franchise. Our chief scout was a guy named Barry Fraser. When we left this franchise, Bill Dineen, and he was really good scout. I mean, we got John Tonelli, that won 3 Stanley Cups in New York for the Islanders, you know, and the Young Hows. I mean, so, and Ruskowski and all those guys we drafted. And he was a great scout. And when this franchise folded, Bill picked up the phone and called, let's see, he called Edmonton, the Oilers, okay? And Sather, Glenn Sather, who was a GM in at the, and he said, "You got to take this scout. He's the guy." He went there. We sent him there from Houston, our chief scout. He's the guy that won 5 Stanley Cups. I mean, the legacy and history people don't understand, you know. I mean, that's amazing. The Oilers Stanley Cups with Gretzky, all those teams that were unbelievable. But it was our chief scout. Look him up, Barry Fraser. You'll see. Crazy.
Jack, what was it like? Tell me about your time with the Blackhawks. I know it was short, but I mean, to be on the ice with so many legends at the same time had to be pretty cool.
Yeah, my roomie, when I get called up, my roomie was Eric Nestorenko. He was great. I mean, he and I would play chess all the time. He was a good, really good, brilliant guy. End up being a ski instructor in Vail after he retired. I mean, he would go to Australia and do skiing, down in Australia in the off season too. I mean, he was an amazing guy. There were some great guys there. Stan Mikita, a legend. Freddie and I, when we went to play junior hockey, lived with Stan Mikita's aunt and uncle, his parents, basically. And so we had a connection with Mikita. When I went back this year, they invited all the Blackhawk alumni back for the opening game to celebrate the 100 years of the Blackhawks. And when I went back, I got to sit with Jill Mikita. Stan's not alive anymore, but we knew the Mikitas really well because of the contact with. He was brought from Czechoslovakia when he was 4 years old. His parents sent him to his aunt and uncle, and he lived in St. Catharines and grew up with junior hockey where my brother and I went. And then they would always board, his aunt and uncle would board players when players would come in to play for the St. Catharines Teepees, it was called at that time. But yeah. Anyway, I mean, when I got hired, when the team hired me, and I got working on, they put me on the broadcast. There was a local cable. This is the weird connection. There was the only cable in Houston at that time was Pasadena. Pasadena had a cable system, so they would tape the games and show them. So I'm doing broadcasts on there, and I got to be friends with the guy running the cable. This friend of mine ends up getting the management job to run the biggest cable system in Houston from his experience in Pasadena. So he gets hired, and then we're good friends, and we start talking about starting a local sports channel. And he says, well, okay, put a plan together, and I did. I wrote a plan, and then we're about ready. We talked to the Rockets and Astros, and we had everybody lined up to start a channel. And then Warner Amex bought the cable system. Now what do we do? Now I have to take my plan to Warner Amex in New York. Allie Sherman, I don't know whether you recognize that name. New York Giants football coach, was head of Warner Amex's media. He was the guy managing their media. So I met with Allie. He said, put a plan. I wrote the plan. He says, Jack, you are so on target. He says, this is perfect. We're going to launch in Houston, and then we're launching Dallas, and then we'll launch in Pittsburgh. We had 3 networks on the air in about a year and a half. Crazy, you know. You never know. Life is funny that way.
Back in Canada, I have read and researched. There are so many huge families within hockey. Hockey is the thing up there. I mean, is it something you start as a youngster?
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's natural because there's ice everywhere. I mean, ponds. You just scrape it off, and I mean, you play outside, or you. My dad would make a rink in the backyard. You know, I mean, here's the debate. My dad built, and my grandfather built a new home for my brothers and I and my mom, and there was one, and the base of the home was concrete block. So downstairs, the basement was a room that was built. All it was concrete block, and then there was a shape for a fireplace in one end, which was an indented. It was the raw framing to put a fireplace. It never got to be a fireplace because we used it as a net. We'd get down there. We had a concrete floor, concrete walls, concrete surface, and we just fire pucks. It was our training. I mean, my brothers and I would play shinny down there all the time. But those are the kind of. My dad would shovel the snow out back and create a rink out in the backyard. You'd have a rink. Just take a hose and away you go. Yeah.
Did hockey take care of you financially, or was it like pulling teeth?
It was pulling teeth.
No pun intended.
Yeah. I mean, when there were only 6 NHL teams, here's a perfect example. I went to the first year in training camp, and Tommy Ivan was running the Blackhawks. Jack, we want you to be a Blackhawk. That's what he said. Give you $500 to sign, $500 to sign, and $3,500 for the season. 500 and 3,500. And so he would bring me in every day at training camp after he made that offer, and he'd say, "Yeah, what do you think?" I said, "Tommy, I can make more money in the Eastern League." "Well, think about it. We want you to be a Blackhawk." And he'd bring me in next day. Finally, I had, there were people out there saying, "Kid, you want to come play here?" So I went to Philly, Philadelphia Ramblers, and the Eastern Hockey League. Amazing guys there, guys that players, and it was. I'm a 20-year-old. Think about that. Going to Philadelphia. The rink was here. American Bandstand was next door. So here I'm a 20-year-old, right? What a treat. I get 33 goals, 34 assists. That's not bad for a rookie. I was like 3rd or 4th on the team in scoring. My right winger got 78 goals that year. My centerman got 78 goals, Chucky Stewart. Anyway, I go back to Blackhawks training camp next year. "Jack, we want you to be a Blackhawk. You had one heck of a year in Philly. We're going to give you $1,000 to sign, and 4,000 to." So I went up. I went, spent a whole year, and I got an additional $500 to sign, an additional. I said, "Okay." And that's when I went to St. Louis, and Phil was my centerman. So that was, just part of it. And then you worked your way up. You didn't. I didn't make. I mean, I didn't. I mean, all of knowledge and things that I learned from being a player paid off later. Because when I started building regional sports channels, I knew every market. I could walk in, like I'd walk in and we were doing a network up in the northwest. I knew the market. We were in Detroit. I knew the market. We're in the middle, in Colorado. I knew the market. So that was what I learned paid off in decent money later on.
What do you think of the NHL game today?
Oh, I think it's what strikes me are the sticks. You watch them. The sticks now are so light, but responsive. I mean, it's like golf clubs. The technology's changed. When I watch the game, I say, oh, boy, I wish I had that. I wish I had that. We used to call it lumber because it was all wood. Now it's fiber, and the fiber and the shape of the sticks. You watch. They throw the puck, and the puck just sits on the stick. It collects, and that's improved design, improved fabric. I mean, it's just they're different. They're using different tools. I say to myself, I mean, I watch a guy say maybe out on the point, and he just flick, and that puck, or pass, and then the guy catching it, just it sits on the stick. So they're different. It's different equipment.
Did you ever aspire to be a goalie or play goalie?
Not at all. I think I tried it a couple of times, but I didn't stay in there too long. It wasn't my.
So you like the offensive part of the game?
Yeah. Well, or the checking and all elements. I mean, myself and when I played in San Diego one year, and that was a great place to play. It was a great arena. We used to draw 12,000 a game, and had some great players on the team. But myself and another guy, Eddie Aaronworth, were the penalty killers. We went 21 games with nobody scoring on us. 21 straight games, set a league record. I mean, that was a system that the guy I learned from the guy in San Diego. He taught me how to kill penalties, and then the irony is here's an irony of the gift of that, knowing we had what our system was and how we did it. I met Herb Brooks before he coached, and I showed him. He used it with the Olympic team.
Wow.
This system which is great,
Is that a good hockey movie, by the way?
Yeah. They're Herb was something. He got killed in a car accident.
So you stayed in Houston for what now? 40 years?
Yeah, see, 72.
40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than that.
Do you get back to Canada very often?
Not a lot, although we took our family to Quebec, Montreal, just last year. That was fun. In Quebec City. It's just beautiful, especially in the fall. We went in October. It was great. I I have a brother in Toronto. Most of my brothers are in Florida now.
Who's the GOAT, Jack, in hockey? And I think I know where you're going to head with this, and that's okay because when you play alongside him and you're a part of his life for so long, I can see where you may say Gordie Howe.
Um, my respect for players that I played with, there's so many of them, amazing guys, character-wise and skills. Teddy Taylor, you have to look at his record. Teddy Taylor was the captain of our team. And he like I'm a Crosby guy. Crosby to me plays the hockey the way I think hockey should be played. He's the character to me. He's the kind of that's my symbol. Sidney Crosby is as good as I've seen. You know.
It was interesting that you were talking about how you played hockey and then you were a golf pro in Canada. In researching the game of hockey, which I'm not really great at, but I read about a gentleman named Red Kane. And Red Kane played hockey and was from Ontario. And he had to play baseball to make a living with both hockey and a living in life. Do you recall? Right, yeah. Do you recall Red Kane?
No, I didn't know.
Okay,
Red.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so all you guys had other jobs when you played minor league hockey.
Pretty much, yeah. You had to do something in the off season, and there are, quite a few guys that were golf pros in the off season. I mean, Makita was a golf pro, Stan Makita. I mean, he's the one that started the Blackhawks alumni have a annual golf tournament that is a real fundraiser in Chicago. So,
do you recall Ron Plump?
Yeah, I do.
What kind of hockey player was he like?
He was a hard-nosed guy. I mean, he was a tough guy that you respected. I mean, there were Kenny Block played in Indianapolis for that team. Look his record up. I played with Kenny in Rochester. He was a quality guy. I mean, there are guys that should have been at the major league level. Lots of them, that were guys that had that skill. I mean, I had that skill, but every franchise only has 3 left wing positions, or whatever. So you're fighting for a job, and it's when I look back at my career, pretty much every year where I went, if I went to a place, I stayed the whole season. So I obviously contributed, to that franchise in a variety of ways. Either killing penalties or like in San Diego, I didn't get a lot of goals, but I still was a contributor. Willie O'Ree played. He's one of the first black players in the National Hockey League for Boston. You look at Willie O'Ree, he's still alive today. He's 95 years old. He does public relations for the NHL, and he was a good teammate and an amazing hockey player. Great skills, and there were guys everywhere I went that could have been playing at the major league level. It's just a matter of, okay, who's on what team and what franchise, who controls your rights, what other players do they have, and what opportunity is there. But yeah, my sense of pride and my sense of joy and my sense of all the things that I learned from playing hockey, riding buses, and and seeing the world. It's
So
good.
is slap shot any way at all like real hockey?
No, it's a real exaggeration. No, there were guys. I mean, my roommate, um, there were guys in every league that were bad guys, you know, tough guys, and they're notorious in the inside the game, not so much maybe to the, and then I guess um, to the fans as well because they always like the tough guy, on every team. Like Shella was a tough guy on our team, or uh, different guys that played different roles. You always had a tough guy. Yeah.
Jack, how was it growing up and playing hockey and having a family and juggling? Was it kind of rough doing hockey and raising a family, or do you look back on it and wish you'd have done things a little bit different, or you just did the best you could, or what was it like multitasking with so many different things that you were doing and raising a family?
I think in a way, it wasn't that bad because I didn't move around. When I was on a team, I stayed there for the whole season. So even my kids grew up with. It's like the main part of it's like it coordinates with the school year in a way. My off season where we go back to Toronto to work in golf was the summertime. Was the off season, was like when kids are out of school. So it didn't disrupt their routine. They pretty much were able to stay in school and then go back in the summer, like you're going to go on a trip in the summertime and live in Toronto, and then come back and go back to school, and so I think I was fortunate in that way that I got to stay and if you think Philly, St. Louis, Buffalo, LA, Dallas, San Diego, Rochester, Houston, those are pretty diverse, like LA. I mean, we lived right on the beach in LA. San Diego, we lived right on the beach in San Diego. So those are two kind of fun environments to be in. In Philly, lived at 63rd and Walnut Street downtown, right in the middle of John Brophy, who was the bad guy of the Eastern Hockey League. You check John Brophy, the name John Brophy. He ended up coaching Toronto Maple Leafs. I think he coached Boston a couple of years. Brophy was the toughest, hardest, most mean guy that I ever played with or against. He would take a stick, turn it straight upside down, and whack guys. I mean, he. One time we lost the game. We were in, I think, in the South somewhere, and got upset and threw something through the window of the hotel. And like he was a volatile kind of personality, but magical in some ways. I mean, a real leader, a team leader. Here, I'm 20 years old and I'm living with the meanest son of a bitch in the Eastern Hockey League. So that was quite a learning experience. The other guy I was living with is a guy named Bob Bailey. If you look back in hockey history, Bob was playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs and is famous for clawing the eyes out of Rocket Richard, who was a Rocket Richard is a legendary Toronto or Montreal Canadian player. And Bailey is famous for some fight he had with Rocket Richard. So these were the guys that I lived with when I was 20 years old. So I was the training camp was pretty extensive and good, you know.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. I know I've ran long, so here are my questions. Questions I want to know answers to. You made several stops in your hockey career. At all of those stops, do you have mementos or stuff that's hanging on the wall or a jersey that's hanging on a hanger or a puck or a picture of each of your stops? Did you try and you know keep a history of it
Catalog,
or
catalog, yeah. I mean, I have team pictures, um, but I don't have. I mean,
like do you
that's a
have your
good
original Blackhawks jersey?
no,
Okay.
no, no. I have. I have a. I'll show. I'll send you. No, I don't have. I don't have any. I mean, I really didn't. I got called up a lot, but didn't play much.
Understood.
And then I got in a playoff game in Detroit, and that maybe I think my only official game in the NHL. I mean, I was around the team a lot. I was with the team a lot. I played a lot of exhibition games with the Blackhawks, but you know, I was a Blackhawk in. I was taught to be a Blackhawk. I mean, you know, I was brought up
Yeah.
in the system, and in those days, you know, there was six teams. You there was a tradition and a legacy, and look, when I went back for the opening game this year, it was great. I mean, they welcomed. You know, I have a Blackhawk. I get the alumni. I get the reports on the Blackhawks. But to be honest, I watch hockey across the board, and I'm really a Penguins guy. You know, like in other words, because of Crosby, because I appreciate the way he plays the game. Um, uh, that's kind of my team of choice to watch if I'm watching games on TV.
Who are some of the people that you met during your hockey career that if you weren't playing hockey, you would have never met?
Uh,
And
well,
while you ponder that, listen to this one. My question about hockey is if I have aggravated and made you mad at tonight's game and we're playing again tomorrow night, are you going to be just as mad at me and out for vengeance than you were the same night that I made you mad? You understand where I'm going? Like, do hockey players?
do they hold grudges?
Yes, yes.
Some guys do. I don't think so because your objective is to win the hockey game, not so much. And you'll do. And I think every game is a story. You know, like I'll give you a good example. Um, Don Cherry. Don Cherry, if you look Don Cherry up, he's Hockey Night in Canada. He was the coach of Boston, and then he was a commentator on Hockey Night in Canada for years and years and years. He's a legendary guy. I played with Don in Rochester, and then he coached me in Rochester. The last year I was in Rochester, my third year in Rochester, we're playing a game to help us try to get in the playoffs. Second last game of the year, we're playing in Springfield. My brother Jimmy is playing on the Springfield team.
Was that the Lumberjacks?
Springfield Kings.
Okay.
Yeah. Jimmy gets 5 goals. We're trying to win the game. And Don Cherry, our coach, is yelling in my ear, "What are you doing with your brother? What's your brother doing? What's going on?" You know, like, I mean, he's just get on me. I get 2 goals and set up an 8-7 winner. I set up. So if you talk about competition, here's my brother destroying our team, 5 goals. Can you imagine? I mean, and then I get 2 goals and an assist and set up the winner 8-7. Then we went back to Rochester and we have to win a final game to get in the playoffs. And we tie. And it was one of those ones where in those days, you didn't have tiebreakers and we don't get in the playoffs. But yeah, I think there are guys and there are teams and there are situations that stay in your head, you know.
And Jack, are you retired? And what do you do in retirement to keep yourself busy and happy?
I've been trying to help the First Tee, the First Tee program the PGA Tour has. When in the mid '90s, when I was starting our Fox Sports International company, and we were all over the world, and we would go to Monte Carlo every year to a main sort of sports conference deal. It's still there, Sportel, it's called. And so we represented not only the product that we were generating domestically, you know, like college product and all kinds of specialty programming and stuff like that we exported globally, you know, and from all the regional networks and Madison Square Garden and Sports Channel and all that, we were the international television distributor for that product. So we would go to Monte Carlo, and I think that situation set us up. So I went to the PGA Tour. They were looking for a distributor. Well, they weren't looking really, but we talked to them about distributing all the PGA Tour product. So in the mid '90s, I got a 15-year contract with the PGA Tour, and my company was the international television distributor for all the PGA Tour product you see on television for international distribution around the world. And we did that for a long time. And during that time is when they started the First Tee program. And they hired the former general manager and president of the Rockets, Leiweke. Do you remember that? Leiweke, the guy that runs the Seattle NHL team now, was the Rockets GM, or the Rockets president and GM, I guess, or GM. He had left the Rockets, and the PGA Tour hired him to start the First Tee. And I knew him from my dealings with the local channel here. And he and I got together and we took the First Tee promo campaign, all the ads to promote the startup of the First Tee, and ran them on all the regional sports networks all over the US. We became the marketing start of First Tee. So I have and you know, I already had the PGA relationship. We were already distributing the product. Now we're helping them market their new idea in the US. So that was a fun time, you know, to be involved with the start of the First Tee program.
Do you play a lot of golf?
I used to. I'm at my age, I'm starting to have a little balance issues, you know.
Yeah.
And so I hit balls and I get out sometimes. I'm going over to Memorial Park here more than I am. And that's where the First Tee program has their headquarters.
Awesome. Jack Stanfield, thank you so much for spending
It
time
was
with us.
good.
This was awesome.
That was good, Billy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it's nice meeting you too. I don't know why you were
Well,
in a woman's clothing store meeting my wife, but hey, it worked out well.
picked up something for my wife.
Hey, there you go. The truth comes out. That's the only reason I
Well,
interviewed you, is to find out.
it is an amazing store, and it's been around for a long time, and it has quality stuff. So
We'll have to cut this clip and make that a commercial.
you can do that. Take
Jack,
care.
thank you so much. Depending upon the response we get, we may have to hook up for more stories and a follow-up interview.
Well, I think I think we need to work on trying to promote the hockey prospects. You know, try to generate a little more momentum if we
Gotcha.
can.
Will
Okay.
do. Thank you,
Take
Jack.
care.
All right.
Thanks, Billy.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.